You're looking for a camera that you can trust day after day, that won't make you fight the menus while you're trying to capture a moment, and that actually feels worth the money instead of just a long list of specs. I get that hesitation. There are a ton of mirrorless options out there, and if you pick the wrong one you end up swapping batteries every 5 minutes, wrestling with autofocus that can't decide, or spending hours in post-production fixing shaky footage. That's why I spent the last few weeks actually handling the Panasonic LUMIX GH7 in a variety of real-world shoots, from a weekend wedding rehearsal to a solo travel vlog, and talking to a handful of creators who already own it. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the GH7 sits in the Micro Four Thirds family, which means you're getting a sensor that's smaller than APS-C or full frame, but also a system that's been refined for over a decade. The biggest question for most buyers is whether that sensor size will hold up when you need clean low-light footage or smooth focus pulls. In my tests, the camera delivered solid 4K video with a pleasant amount of detail, and the built-in noise handling was good enough to keep grain at bay up to about ISO 6400. That's plenty for indoor events or city nightscapes, especially when you pair it with a fast prime like the 25mm f/1.7. You won't get the same shallow depth of field look you'd see on a full-frame body, but the trade-off is a lighter kit and lenses that can be stacked in a backpack without weighing you down. Autofocus is where a lot of mirrorless cameras either shine or stumble. Panasonic uses its DFD, depth from defocus system on the GH7, which reads the phase difference in the image to predict focus before the lens actually moves. In practice, that means you get a confident lock on faces and moving subjects, even when you're on a gimbal. I shot a short documentary segment where the subject was walking toward the camera while the background shifted, and the focus stayed locked without any hunting. For vloggers or solo creators who can't afford a focus puller, that reliability is a huge confidence boost. Stabilization is another practical factor. The GH7 packs a 5-axis in-body image stabilization IBIS that works well with most Micro Four Thirds lenses. When I filmed a handheld walking tour of a historic district, the footage stayed smooth enough that I could drop the gimbal entirely and still get a steady result. The system works best when you're moving at a moderate pace. Rapid jogs or very fast panning can still introduce a little wobble, but it's far less noticeable than on older bodies that lack IBIS. Lens ecosystem is a point that often trips up newcomers. Micro Four Thirds has one of the widest selections of lenses for its size, ranging from ultra-wide 714mm lenses to portrait-ready 4590mm zooms. Because the mount is so compact, you can run a full day's worth of shooting with 3 or 4 lenses without feeling like you're hauling a small truck. That flexibility is a practical win for creators who need to switch between a wide landscape shot and a tight interview frame on the fly. Just remember that you won't find as many ultra-fast telephoto options as you would on a larger sensor system, so if your work leans heavily on distant subjects you might need to think about adapters or a different platform. Menu navigation on Panasonic bodies has a reputation for being a bit dense, and the GH7 is no exception. The top dial layout is logical once you get used to it, but the initial learning curve can feel like you're scrolling through layers of settings. What helped me was spending a half-hour customizing the menu to put my most used functions like LUT selection, focus peaking, and frame rate switches on the quick access screen. After that, the workflow became almost second nature. If you're someone who prefers a single-button golf experience, you might find the menu depth a little more involved than on a point-and shoot, but it's a small price to pay for the level of control you get. Battery confidence is a practical concern that often gets overlooked in specs sheets. The GH7 uses